Yo, what is up, my beautiful co-creators? How is everyone doing out there? How are you? This is crazy, right? This is a totally wild, totally new world. And I think we've been in it just long enough that it's kind of like, right? I know a lot of you are switching to online formats, and this was not your original plan because you're not really like somebody who wants to talk to the camera or wants to be online in that way. Don't like social media. I totally get it. I'm here to say I am with you because I am learning that this is a lot harder than I expected. And this is coming from someone who's totally comfortable speaking in front of people, doing public speaking, being in front of the camera. I've been a part of several public art projects that have been filmed, and so I've learned to kind of just get used to that kind of thing. Even just painting murals in the public eye has taught me how to be a little more vulnerable in the public eye, and I still find this particular format of creating video content really difficult, because when I actually don't have somebody that I'm talking to or people around me to kind of bounce the energy off of, it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm talking to a version of myself looking back at me on my iPhone, and it's hard because you can lose a sense of who am I even talking to. So I had to do a little meditation before I turned on this camera and just took a really deep breath and closed my eyes and remembered all of the people I love, all my friends and family, all my extended friends and family, all my communities of artists and creators that I've worked with, all of the networks that those stretch out to, of all the beautiful humans that I have met and have yet to meet, everyone around the globe that I love. And now I remember who I'm talking to. So I hope all of you are doing okay out there, and most of all, taking care of you. I know for me, when I know that there are so many possibilities, I can get completely paralyzed. I think one of the downsides of total and complete infinite freedom can be a paralyzation. There's so many things to choose from. You try one, stop, and you're not accomplishing anything. You're not going towards a goal. So sometimes there's so much freedom when you provide a little bit of structure, because that structure allows you to have a point A to B that then you work through, and then all of a sudden you realize you're a little more in tune with where you want to go next. So one way that I help myself when I kind of need a little bit of structure and I'm feeling overwhelmed about the infinite possibilities is I refer to my trusty assignment jar, which I've had for a really long time. A lot of these are old from art school, not elaborate assignments. Sometimes they're just like quick little sketch exercises or something just to kind of get the juices flowing. Sometimes they're a little more complicated. Sometimes they're a challenge. Sometimes they don't even involve art at all. But I go to this jar for two reasons. One, when I feel totally creatively blocked, when I just feel like I can't find my creative intuition, I can't connect to my creativity, I feel lethargic, but I know I need to get to the studio and just do something creative. It's important to kind of work through those moments sometimes. Sometimes you should just take a nap, go for a walk. That's fine too. But in the moments where you know you want to go to your studio and maybe work through it, this is a really trusty thing to have. I will make a video about all the assignments that are in here as a list to provide for you guys when you're in that time. Another time it comes handy is when I'm in infinite possibility mode and I actually feel like I have too many ideas and too much creativity, and I could do it this way or this way or this way or this way, and that has definitely been happening to me now, of how can I kind of translate the work that I do and care about to an online environment, and it's just a lot. So I referred to my assignment jar just to kind of do something to ground myself and get me from A to B, accomplish something. Sometimes when I get to the end of just accomplishing something, it doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes it's just making your bed that morning. It just kind of grounds you in like a present moment of like, oh, I just did that. I'm capable of doing what I want in the next moment. Even if that's unconscious, it's a helpful thing. And I do tend to be someone that has a little bit of ADD in my studio where I like to work on multiple projects at once. So I do like a little of this one, and then I switch to this one, and a little of this one. And I can dabble forever, but I'm not concluding anything. So the assignment jar is really helpful for that. So I decided to make a video of the assignment that I pulled, so you could see me just kind of work through it and enjoy a little time lapse of kind of how I tackled this assignment. The one that I pulled was draw one of your favorite poems. And I was very happy to pull that one. I love pulling that one because there's two ways in which I interpret that. One is to draw the mood of the poem, to draw what the poem feels like. And then that's when it's abstract and moody and reflects the feeling that the poem gives me. The other one is to literally write out the poem, but draw the text. I love working with text. I've always been a handwriting nerd. I love changing my handwriting, playing with handwriting. I love an excuse to put a little bit of text into something. I love doing the balance of sort of perfectionism and sort of like asymmetry and sort of skewed letters, and playing with that. I decided to go with the text version of this assignment because I just took a quick little Zoom typography class with my friend Chelsea, and it was totally awesome, and it was a perfect little thing to do that I accomplished, and I did get like the juices flowing, got a little unstuck, so it was a really nice gift. And so I've just been in letter mode, so I decided to go with the letter version. The poem that I chose, and this, by the way, y'all, Rumi, Essential Guide. Wait, it's not an essential guide. It's not a guide, it's just Rumi. He is the guide. It's not a guide to Rumi, but anyway, his words guide. Anyway, this is pure gold. So the poem that I chose is one of my all-time favorites. It's one I had read several times, kind of thought I understood a little bit what it was meaning, but then rediscovered it about 2 years ago when I had a moment of sort of deepening my level of love for myself and then thus all of life. It was like a profound moment, and sometimes when I have those moments, I go to this book and I just randomly open it. It always gives me the right poem. And at that time, this one was Quietness. And it goes like this. Inside this new love, die. Your way begins on the other side. Become the sky. Take an axe to the prison wall. Escape. Walk out like someone suddenly born into color. Do it now. You're covered with thick cloud. Slide out the side. Die and be quiet. Quietness is the surest sign that you've died. Your old life was a frantic running from silence. The speechless full moon comes out now. So that's the poem I chose to write on this canvas, and I hope you enjoy it.
So I decided to give myself one more parameter, and instead of starting on a blank canvas, I want to work on top of this leftover instructional canvas I have. This came from a social distancing project I did with my friend, where I led her through a quick little mural on the top of her awesome VW bus. This is how it turned out. While she did a beautiful job, it doesn't really hold a candle to the beautiful nephew in this photo. But anyway, we had a lot of fun and I learned, so this piece is laying around and I decided to dive in. So if you're an art supply nerd, you might want to stick around. I'm going to talk a little bit about materials, but if not, feel free to press the mute button and put on some tunes and watch the time lapse and see how I attempt to lay this Rumi poem in this basic landscape of mountains and a sunset. So I want to start by toning down the harshness of these paint lines and just kind of mute it out a little bit, but I don't want to lose the boldness of the colors, so I'm going to work with the transparent paint. I'm using Createx brand, which are actually meant for airbrush, but don't be afraid to use materials in a non-traditional way. These are still acrylic paints. Because I'm ultimately going to be doing a lot of text, I'm going to be using a lot of paint markers. That way I can get bold, crisp lines. They're really fun to work with, and they're especially fun to go on top of a canvas with. I'm using the Posca brand. I really enjoy this brand. They're very durable and smooth with a very matte, opaque finish, which I like because I use a lot of gouache, so they work well together. And I find I don't have to pump these as much to get the paint to flow as I do with a lot of the other brands. I did receive in the mail some Arteza brand from a friend. I've never tried these before, so I'm going to try them for the first time on this project. I will say they're kind of okay compared to the Posca ones. They do have some really great color ranges. They're a little bit more transparent, which could be a nice addition because I do like to build color through layers, which I can't do with the opaque markers. These are refillable though, so I'll let you know how that goes and if that saves you money in the long run. While I'm using the gray Posca marker to really kind of bold out the shapes and letters where I think they need to live, I'm also using gouache paint to define some of the larger areas, and especially to use the white as a kind of eraser to clear out the area of all the marks that I made while I was trying to feel out where the shape needed to be. The brand I'm using is Turner Acrylic Gouache. Now this is a little bit different than a regular gouache. For those of you who don't know, a gouache is an opaque watercolor. It's essentially a watercolor that has been mixed with a chalk-like medium to give it a very opaque matte finish, which you know that I love, but you can still thin it out to achieve that watercolor effect, which I also love for layering. But one thing about watercolor and gouache is that you can wake it back up with water even once it's dried on the surface. That's a fantastic quality when you want to blend. However, if you want to layer in this way, where I'm actually using the paint to push things into the background and to pull things into the foreground, erasing and carving it out and layering again, constantly waking the color back up underneath and blending is frustrating. I wouldn't be able to use the white as an eraser. So that's where the acrylic gouache comes in. Adding a little bit of polymer to the chalk medium now gives it the acrylic quality that once it's dry, it's completely dry and you can go on top of the surface and you will not blend with that layer. So this was the perfect combination of qualities that I was looking for, and it's been a game changer for my process ever since. I have to say, I think the parameters of starting with a somewhat defined landscape already was starting to drive me crazy during this project. I could tell I wanted the letters to flow in a different way, but I did at least attempt to get a little clever with it by having the final now flow into the previous now. I'm not sure how successful this whole thing reads, but I was determined to get the entire poem in and conclude the project. But I think that's all I got for this one.
So yeah, there she is, y'all. And you know what? I gotta say, I really don't like it. I think I was like a little too tight and rigid. I don't know, maybe I was affected by feeling like, oh, people are going to be watching me make this, so it affected the way I was even able to make it. I think you saw a lot of the push-pull of me trying to carve those letters out and find their rhythm. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't. So pretty much this will sit in my studio for some time, and maybe one day I'll see it at the right moment and have the right epiphany and know the exact right thing to add that will save the piece and make it shine. Not save the piece, conclude the piece. How about that? Bring it to where it needs to go. Or that won't happen and it'll sit there for a really long time, and then maybe someone will like it one day and I'll just give it to them. Or trade them for something very cool that they've made. That happens a lot. But either way, I accomplished something, and I feel a lot better having done so, and it did pave the way for me to be able to even make a video at all and not overthink the content of the video, so it served its purpose. But that painting definitely drove me a little batty, but I had an antidote to that, and the antidote to that will be my next video. Stay tuned. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Thank you so much. If you have any awesome ideas that you do when you're feeling either creatively overwhelmed or creatively underwhelmed, definitely leave them in the comments. We'll keep sharing ideas with each other. Until then, stay safe. Give yourself a big hug from me to you, and I'm definitely receiving your love and hugs back. So, love you all.